So, I am Iya J and welcome back to my channel. I'm here with my daughter Neysa and we are talking about, today what we're talking about.
We're going to be talking about the differences between femininity in my generation.
My generation. Divine femininity versus the younger generation and the previous generation, I say that.
Okay, yes.
And so we're going to discuss three main points of divine femininity, the differences and even some similarities. But the main points are physical differences that we're seeing in women that has changed mentally and spiritually. So let's start with the physical things. So, we always joke, you and I joke about the difference with how the women in your era act versus me and how I grew up and the women that I grew up with, how we act. So I like to say y'all a little ratchet. And we're classy.
Not all of us. But
okay, yeah. Not, of course, not to generalize everybody, but yeah, what you think? So we talk about these different celebrities a lot, and the differences between the ones that we see now. So what you think?
So yeah, I think when it comes to our generation, we're more into like having a presence, a social media presence.
Yeah.
Social media is a huge part of everything that we do now. So the people that are in the limelight now, the feminine figures that we have are ones who have a huge social media presence. And it's not solely based on them, it's also based on us because we make these people famous. It's something about them that we do that make them famous. So I was talking to my mom the other day about we talk about Sexy Red because she's up and coming, she's big right now. This is her moment to shine. And I would say she does represent some kind of femininity in our generation. I would say that represents a lot of what people are afraid to do. Our generation, we
kind of like the wild woman.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah,
That's
we
cool.
have this whole city girl mentality. We have this whole, I mess with this man, he do this for me, and he buy me this energy. And very liberated in our sexual preferences. So she's very sexual.
Okay.
And she says a lot of stuff that I guess most women feel, but they're afraid to say.
Right.
So I think femininity in that aspect for us is more about being empowered in who we are. Say how we say. If you are a hoe, it's okay to be a hoe. If you are a city girl, it's okay to be. It's pretty much okay to be anything.
Yeah. And I get that. I like that you said liberating. It's the wild woman, and that is a part of the divine feminine energy, divine feminine archetypes, of course. But the part that I have where it's such a drastic, to me, it's a difference in class. When I say class, I mean classiness. So you named Sexy Red for your generation, and we also talk about Summer Walker a lot. Anybody else you want to name before I?
Yes, but that will shift it to a whole other topic. I do feel like Janae is still an embodiment of femininity in our
your generation. Okay,
well.
so we're gonna use those three for you.
Okay.
And so for me growing up, we had public figures, so for public females, celebrities like Nia Long, Halle Berry,
right.
Sanaa Lathan, people like that. So
Wait,
hold on.
Because she's gonna be the list of ones.
I just list a few. Of course, there's a lot more, but just to name a few, my point is that it's in class. You can be liberating and show your body and say what you want from a man and express your sexuality, and all that is great. I'm with all that, but there is a difference in presentation, and to me, the presentation is a lack of class. It seems like that's the new thing, to be kind of just, I don't know what word I would say for it, but to me, I like to embody the feminine side of I'm liberated with how I feel and what I want to do, but I also exude a lot of class. I like the high class energy of femininity. So
okay, so I guess what I was gonna say too is y'all didn't have as much, as many very sexually liberated women, but you did have Trina. Okay, so I'm thinking Trina.
Katrina was
and Lil Kim, right? They
Lil Kim,
they were saying some crazy stuff too.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to think of the difference.
There is a
really
difference. It's like they were a bit ratchet too, a lot. I mean, very expressive sexually. But still, if you look at like some Lil Kim videos, she still represented a lot of high class, like I guess materialistic. And that's all we really had to go by because we didn't have a lot of social media like y'all did, so we didn't really know a lot about what was going on behind the scenes in celebrities' lives like we know now. But they still, were very boss type of females with the liberated sexual side that they expressed.
Yeah.
So there is a difference to me. To me, it's like, again, I'm not downgrading the wild woman part of divine femininity because that is an archetype. That is a part of a woman. But you could stay up here with your liberation or you could drop down here with your liberation. And that's where I have a problem. It's like,
I agree.
Step it up a little bit.
That there are we don't have no real boundaries in our generation. It's like take it as far as you can take it and see if people like it. And if
people jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, they do. And then also, like with your generation, we didn't know if when Lil Kim and Trina left the set, if they went back home and was, normal and if they was normal and put on their regular clothes, they was, it could have been a facade. We don't know, right? Because you guys didn't have social media. But now you can follow every day, and these people are like, no, this is who I am.
Right. But the thing is, so I can even use your generation and use somebody who I feel that is a difference and still very liberated and saying this is who I am, and she still exudes some high class to me in a sense, like City Girl. What's her name?
Young Miami.
Okay. I think I like the way she does remind me of a new age Trina, where it's like she lets you know how she feels, what she want, the men, all that. She go through all that, but she still kind of has a presence.
That's true.
Her presence and her energy is still like up here a bit, not down here with everybody else. Like what separates them from, their energy and their presence. To me, a woman's energy and presence is not so much about what you're saying and what you're doing. It's your spirit, it's your energy. Right. And so if I look at Sexy Red versus Young Miami, I see a different spirit. I feel a different energy, and that's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
Now we're gonna talk about so that's physically, that's really on the physical side, like the look, I guess too.
Yeah,
because we're supposed to be talking about the physical differences.
Like the look. The butts are getting bigger, but I still feel like women were sexualized just as much then as they were now. What was sexy?
That's true.
Then? They put you all on the front of a magazine. You're sexy
legs
now.
Open.
They put you on the
Lil Kim had her legs open.
The stars over the nipples. The girls is doing the same thing, pretty much.
Physically, I guess that's about the same in a sense. It's just again the class, the ratchetness is different. Well, I want to say one other thing too. Well, we can go into this in the mental section of things. Like mentally, we talked about the mindset. It seems different from my era with your era. As a divine feminine woman, a lot of things that I grew up with understanding as a woman, and in general, is privacy. We again didn't have social media where we were expressing and showing so much and just saying all kind of stuff, or just the mind, regardless of what was actually going on. I guess it was the privacy that people had to kind of shelter them. And so to me, it seems like we had stronger mentality. We had a stronger mentality when it came to the outlook we had on life. But I can't say that. Of course, that's not across the board. That's not for everybody, but just a generalized statement. But mentally, and we talked about men, how women interact with men now versus the era before. What do you think about that?
What I think is the mentality has changed, but I don't know if mentality is weaker. I just think that we think differently because we have to. I think social media is really rooted, in a lot of changes that was going through.
I agree.
Men back, before, they wasn't sitting on their phones all day. They were out working or doing something active.
That's true.
Men now are constantly on their phones, and they're also seeking validation as well. And there are a lot of men that seek validation by doing what's popular. So the shorts get shorter, the dances get a little more dancier, the hips move a little more. It's okay okay to live a soft life as a guy. It's okay. And I'm not saying anything wrong, I'm just saying that the men have softened, and so the women have hardened more. I feel like, as far as
so it kind of crossed a bit. So the divine feminine energy kind of took over a lot, and not just women, but it flowed into the men as well. Is what it seems like what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like, and that has shifted women to be like, because our mothers and stuff were used to, I feel like men, maybe not necessarily taking complete care of them, but being head of the household. I feel like women in our generation, we do still expect that, but because men aren't just naturally giving it anymore, now we're like, buy my nails, do all of this for me, get my nails done. If you don't do that, then you this and you're that. Like, that's a huge part, I feel like, of our femininity today. Our mentality
it's changed because the mentality of men has changed.
Yeah. So we're like, I'm a boss, and if he's not a boss, if he's working a 9 to 5, I don't want him, because
I think that it actually started with my era. So what you're explaining that you're seeing now with your era started with our era. And we were seeing a shift then, because so maybe my mother's generation, men were more at home, or or my grandmother's generation, they definitely were at home. So as far as in the household, so it started with my generation. However, what I will say is that definitely there was, I would say, more masculinity in men in my era that I saw. I can't speak for everybody, but for me that I saw, and that has changed a lot. So
I think the mentality, and then sometimes I watch old 90s movies like The Best Man, or just
that really
like
was the 90s.
Men,
That was 2000.
Okay, 2000. So but your era
so
of
90s,
grown woman, you were like late 90s.
Okay. 98. So soul food. You had soul food. You had Nia Long in there. You had with her married with Lim.
Soul food. That's a good example. I was just watching a clip of that the other day. Like when Lim came in, he slammed that door and glass shattered it.
Yes.
And he's like, men
that's
had a lot of
that's what I'm saying.
Testosterone. Yes. Even just acting, like you could see it in his eyes, but now
it's the soft girl era for everybody.
Everybody is living in soft girl era.
But it is important to keep a balance between the two. As far as me and my philosophy, I believe that it's important to keep a good balance between the two, where one is not overpowering the other. I believe in balance.
I agree.
Mentality like that, and how y'all handle issues and problems is
completely different.
It's an expression on, like you said, social media is a big part of the changes, but it's an expression, very outwardly expression. And I would venture to say, to me, I wouldn't say it has anything to do with a generational change. It has to do with maturity. But it is important for a woman who is embodying the divine feminine to learn how to express, to learn how to control her emotions, to learn how to express herself properly and control her emotions. So
I feel like that's it was probably a little bit easier before, when you didn't have to worry about your life being broadcasted on the internet. I feel like you could handle what you had to handle at home, hold your emotions, go through them at home, but then just settle it at home. Maybe your family knows, but now the internet knows. Like if we think about Summer Walker and stuff like that, like she probably tries. I feel like she doesn't always go off. I feel like she tries, but
it's easy. Y'all have that as your outlet.
Yeah, so it's like
you have that as your outlet, but I still feel like it's a lack of control.
Yeah,
it's too easy. It's easy to not control because everybody is doing it. Yeah. It's like nobody is wanting to control themselves. But I am big on, again, privacy, control of your emotions, balance of the feminine and the masculine energy. So those are some things that play into the mental and the mentality is important. But I do feel positive vibes from a lot of the women in your generation. Well, at least for me and you, I feel like y'all look up to the women before you. I feel like I see acknowledgement there. Even going back to Young Miami and Trina, I see where she acknowledges Trina as being a part of, their role in their journey. It seems like y'all take advice, know, it seems like y'all get on the internet to get advice.
Right.
So there's an openness there. There's a vulnerability there, which is good. But yeah, so we're talking about the third thing, spiritually.
What's different?
The difference spiritually.
I think that one of positive things about social media or just the internet in general is the access to information. I think that due to everyone having access to more information and having a lot of questions that you used to be scared to ask your parents spiritually, like, oh, why is God doing this? They'd be like, don't ask why. We never ask God why type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't ask about why God does this, you know, or why this. So I feel like people were able to easily put that in Google, get answers, and then as they get answers, they connect to more different avenues from there. So I think spirituality has changed in that people have more access, and so they're open to doing different things. So it's become more acceptable to do some kind of cleansing, some saging, because people have made it common to watch on TikTok. You can look up a spell on TikTok.
Right.
You can look up how to manifest a man on YouTube. So that has brought more people into doing their itty bitty of spirituality, and sometimes they don't even know it. They'll still be like, oh, I'm a Christian, which is nothing wrong with that. But you are opening your spirit up to these things.
Well, that's true.
Because of the
So
easy access.
that's another YouTube video.
Yes, but I do think
But
because
yeah.
of that's become more acceptable.
So you feel
that's
like
different.
so spiritually y'all are more open, more, what would I say, expressive, or
Yeah,
you're open to learning more, and you have different
And
passions sharing and understanding. And I agree. I feel that we were restricted a lot. Knowledge, you are a part of the knowledge era, but it started again in my era as well. So we did have access to the internet.
Yeah, but it's faster now. It's faster. You had to go to the library. You was not in your room with a laptop. Like, oh, let me open it, or on your phone in a pocket. You wasn't.
So we had access to the internet. So yeah, we had knowledge of, to learn, like to gain the knowledge of things that we wanted to. But it wasn't as accepted, because even when I started on my journey with African spirituality, I hid a lot from my family, from the men that I was dating, even just from everybody at first, because it was not socially accepted. It was very much frowned upon. And I think that because people do have more access to knowledge and seeing people in a broader way, now the whole lifestyle of people is shown and expressed a lot, where people are able to see people of different backgrounds and cultures. And so I wouldn't say just about anything is acceptable in a sense. It's like, so I feel that has opened a way for people to accept the different forms of spirituality and people to practice different forms of spirituality, because now you can find more information about African spirituality by looking at YouTube videos to see what they're doing in Nigeria, see what they do in Cuba, you see what they do in Brazil. When we were led a lot by elders, people that we knew, so it is open. That has opened up a lot, and it's a good thing.
I think too, a downfall of that is you can misread. You can, like, before you had to talk to your elders. So I feel like the source was a little bit more centered.
Absolutely.
Like now you're getting you're getting information from sources that may not always be credible.
They're
so
not,
what
right,
someone could tell you
exactly.
to do on the internet may be like the darkest thing you could do for your spirit, but you don't know that because it's got
Right.
a million views. Like we're
Right,
used to
and
clicking
so
on
y'all,
one
that
that's
is a problem. Y'all look at what is most popular at and equate that to credibility,
Right.
and accuracy,
Right.
which is so not true. I've always been speaking this to people, and I still say it and scream it from the top of a mountain, that a lot of really wise and reputable elders are the ones with the lowest followers, lowest amount of views, because they don't have time to be
if they're even posting.
right.
They just have-
It's getting better. I'm seeing more elders, more people be on social media who are credible. So that's a good thing. But we shifted into that. But it definitely, it's an ocean now of information that you have to use your spirit of discernment to know, hey, maybe this isn't right. Maybe this is a little too dark for me. So to use your spirit is an issue. Like I said, using your spirit of discernment. If you have so much information, a lot of times y'all miss that part. You have to use your spirit of discernment. You have to use common sense. Yeah, that kind of thing. So those are some things that we feel like, you know, are some differences and good across the board. And again, I do want to make the point that the divine feminine has an enormous amount of different aspects and traits. So there's no one that's just in this one vessel, one bottle, one, you know, definition of what the divine feminine is or isn't. But we're just discussing the shift that has happened in the things that we see between one another as mother and daughter and generational.
Yep.